My wife and I, at the time, we were young parents. We really didn't know much about what ADHD was or medications or what the medications were or anything. But this school kept calling my wife and I in for meetings, to assess Matthew and to figure out how to handle, the situation, because they said that he had a difficult time with his focus and attention in the classroom. The school social worker gave us a list of pediatricians, of like 3 or 4 pediatricians to take Matthew to. She said that he needed to be on a medication for ADHD. I really didn't know much, like I mentioned earlier, about medications or anything like that, but I just didn't have a good feeling. I didn't feel like, why does my son need to be on medication to go to school and learn? Well, my wife and I were both at work at the time. I had worked late that evening, and my wife was at her job, and I stopped by where my wife was working and had a cup of coffee to talk to her, and then we got a call about 8 o'clock because he was over at my sister's house with his cousins playing in the basement. And she said, "You guys need to get here right away. Something's wrong with Matthew." And so we both got into my truck and drove over there as quickly as we could. We were about 10 minutes away. And Matthew was laying on his back in the basement floor. The police were there and the paramedics were there trying to resuscitate him. Matthew was actually dead when we got there. But they still took him to the hospital and continued to work on him on the way to the hospital and at the hospital. And then the doctor finally came up to me and said, "Mr. Smith, this has been way too long. Your son's dead, and there's nothing we can do about it." So I went in and just laid over Matthew and just cried. It just wasn't fair. He was just a good little kid. He didn't deserve it for his life to be cut so short like that. And we waited for all the toxicology tests and all the autopsy testing to come back, and the medical examiner out of Oakland County, Michigan, concluded that Matthew's death was due to the use of the psychostimulant that was prescribed to him for ADHD. He told me that a full-grown man's heart weighs 350 grams, and that Matt's heart had been severely damaged from the medication, and it was 402 grams. So now we have some memories, some good memories of Matthew. But the sad thing is that we're left with a death certificate that says that his death was caused from the use of this psychostimulant medication that was prescribed for ADHD. I decided that my purpose and my way to deal with Matthew's death was to educate other parents so that they would not have to go through what my wife and I had to go through, which I believe is probably one of the most worst things that a person can really go through, is to have to bury their child. And this all could have been avoided if we would have had more knowledge and it was not just all one-sided. And if somebody would have presented us with a good alternative, like Be Calmed or New Be Calmed, that definitely would have been a good option for us, and Matthew would still be with us today, and he would be a productive member of society.